Imagine if Wakanda, Dubai, and an Apple store had a baby in the middle of the desert. In 2017, Saudi Arabia unveiled NEOM, a futuristic AI-powered city that promised zero carbon living, floating ports, and flying taxis. A 170-kilometer-long mirrored skyscraper city called The Line was supposed to redefine how we live. Fast forward to 2025, and yeah, it's still mostly a trench in the sand, and the only thing longer than the line is the list of problems piling up. NEOM has been in the works for nearly 8 years, and while we've got lots of viral TikToks, dramatic voiceover trailers, and really cool 3D renderings of what it should look like, the reality is a lot less exciting. In this video, we're diving into this $8.8 trillion project that includes The Line, a floating industrial city, a rooftop soccer stadium, and some serious controversies. Let's get into it. NEOM was, and still is, the crown jewel of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030. It was supposed to mark the country's transition from oil dependence to a tech-driven AI economy, and maybe distract from some of the less flattering headlines about Saudi Arabia. Think Silicon Valley, but designed by oil magnates who also build palaces. At the heart of NEOM, we have a few big projects. First, The Line, a 170-kilometer-long city built in a straight line. It's actually a pair of two parallel mirrored skyscrapers that are supposed to be 500 meters tall. That's over 1,600 feet, and housing for 9 million people. No roads, no cars, just a high-speed transit line and a whole lot of glass. Like a skyscraper greenhouse in the desert. Next, Oxagon, a floating industrial and logistics hub shaped like an octagon, supposedly where the future of clean manufacturing lives. If completed, it'll be the world's largest floating structure. And Trojena, a ski resort in the desert mountains. Trojena is hosting the Asian Winter Games in 2029, because when you think of Saudi Arabia, you think snow, right? NEOM was pitched as humanity's next great civilization with zero emissions, AI governance, and cutting-edge architecture. Basically, SimCity on steroids. But here's the catch. The gap between that vision and reality is big, and it's getting wider. And while NEOM's budget gap is growing wider, your bank fees don't have to. That's why I'm a big fan of Wise, the modern way to send, spend, and manage money globally without getting crushed by hidden fees and bad exchange rates. If you are working remotely, living abroad, or just dealing with international currencies, Wise lets you hold over 40 currencies in one account and convert at the real mid-market rate. Personally, I've used it for over 3 years now to pay all of my editors and writers who live overseas. It's fast, secure, and so freaking easy to convert currencies. If you use the link in the description, you can start for free and send up to $600 with zero fees. Now let's get back to the video. Let's talk about the money behind this project. So originally, this mega project, NEOM, was going to cost around $500 billion. That number is insane, but it's still within the realm of maybe a couple billionaires and some oil money can pull this off. But now, in 2025, a leaked internal audit suggests that NEOM could cost up to $8.8 trillion over the next 50 years. Let that sink in. That's nearly a third of the US GDP. To be fair, that almost $9 trillion includes everything. Infrastructure, technology, desalination plants, the buildings, even that flying taxi stuff. Still, almost $9 trillion makes it one of the most expensive ideas ever conceived. So far, they've spent about $50 billion, mostly funded by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund. They are now trying to raise more funding from private investors. but let's just say the response has been cautious. They even talked about doing an IPO of NEOM on the stock market, but that's been delayed. No surprise there. Investor confidence isn't exactly through the roof when the roof in question is supposed to hold a FIFA stadium. More on that in a minute. The math isn't mathing, but let's talk about some of the aspects of this project that might actually become a reality. Here's the thing, the full 170-kilometer line, that's not happening by 2030. Not even close. The plan now is to build just 2.5 kilometers of the line by 2030 in a segment called the Hidden Marina. So this project has shrunk by 98.5%. I mean, instead of a line, it's more like a dot. Yeah, we'll call it that. The dot. So what's gonna be inside the Hidden Marina? Supposedly 80,000 homes, 9,000 hotel rooms, a mega yacht marina tucked under the mirrored wall, and yes, a FIFA World Cup stadium on the roof meant to host the 2034 World Cup. By the way, this one section alone is estimated to cost $140 billion. For 2.5 kilometers, or about 1.5 miles. At that rate, the full line might not be finished until the year 2400. Also, let's do this math for a minute. If it costs $140 billion to build the 2.5 kilometer dot, that means it should take around 9.5 trillion to build the full 170 kilometers. Now, NEOM is betting big that this one little section of the line can act as a flashy, Instagrammable prototype to get the world on board. If everyone likes this little dot, then I guess we'll try to finish the rest of the line. Personal take, it sounds like the world's most expensive trailer for a movie that might never hit theaters. But what do you think? Comment down below. At some point, people on the inside said, hey, maybe we don't need 500-meter tall mirrored walls in the desert. Now, for context, that's over 1,600 feet tall. Taller than the Empire State Building in Manhattan and the Willis Tower in Chicago. In 2023 and 2024, NEOM's own executives nicely suggested reducing the height of the line to save money. Now that seems pretty reasonable, right? But Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman shot it down, flat out refused. He told them to find budget cuts elsewhere, but keep the design intact. That moment kind of tells you everything you need to know. NEOM isn't just a city, it's a statement, a monument to vision. Not necessarily reality, but a monument nonetheless. Now, let's talk more about this timeline. In 2024, a confidential internal audit got leaked. The big takeaway? NEOM might not be fully complete until 2080. That's 55 years away. And the budget could go even higher than the estimated 8.8 trillion. Some financial consultants working on the project allegedly overestimated their projections to justify more expansion. Unfortunately, it's not all mirrored walls and flying taxis. Here's where things get serious. To make way for the line, over 20,000 members of the Huaytat tribe were forcibly evicted. In 2020, one protester, Abdul Rahim al-Huwaiti, was reportedly shot and killed by Saudi forces. Between 2022 and 2023, several more tribe members were sentenced to death for opposing these evictions. Dozens more have been jailed. Human rights groups and even UN officials have condemned how Saudi Arabia has been handling these indigenous communities. It's a clear violation of international law. And let's be real, Saudi Arabia doesn't exactly have the best track record when it comes to human rights, women's rights, and LGBT freedoms. Is this project really worth this level of cost? Evicting 20,000 people for a city that might never be finished? NEOM originally said that residents would be moving in by 2024. Well, we're now in 2025, and that ain't happening, honey. That estimated date has been pushed to 2028 at the earliest. Here's a quick rundown of what's behind schedule. Sindalah Island, the luxury resort, opened late 2024. It was 3 years late and the budget tripled. Trojena Ski Resort is making solid progress, but it has to be done by 2029 for the Winter Games. Oxagon's green hydrogen plant is about 60% finished, aiming for completion in 2026. And of course, the line, we thought the full 170 kilometers would be finished by 2030, and that's not happening. Best case scenario, the hidden marina, which is 1.5% of the line, should be finished by 2030. And the rest of NEOM, still desert with a few concrete slabs and a lot of optimism. Alright, so let's ask the question we've been working our way up to. Is NEOM a futuristic breakthrough or a trillion-dollar disaster? Let's start with the positives. NEOM is unprecedented. It's pushing the boundaries of what mankind's cities could be. And some projects are moving. Trojena, Sindalah, and Oxagon are all showing signs of progress. And some huge global firms are still involved in making NEOM a reality. But the concerns, they're hard to ignore. The timeline has slid from 2030 to 2080, but it might take generations for the full vision of NEOM to become a reality. $8.8 trillion is a lot of money, and it's not clear who exactly will want to live in NEOM or pay for all this. The controversies around evictions and human rights are serious and ongoing. I mean, this is Saudi Arabia after all. And let's face it, the build it and they will come model doesn't always work, especially when we're talking about the middle of the desert. Final thoughts? NEOM might still become something remarkable, but right now it feels like a high-stakes gamble that's a lot closer to science fiction than reality. If you found this video interesting, let me know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and let me know. What do you think? Should the world be rooting for NEOM, or is it time to hit the brakes on this dream? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.